This is a man who's had so much success with Real Madrid over the years. Sid, we were discussing yesterday, a lot has happened in 24 hours.
It certainly has. And Ancelotti is very much a left field choice. He's very much a surprise, I think, from almost everybody's perspective. In a way, I guess it suits in that I think really and truly Real Madrid's options were relatively limited. Of course, they thought they had Allegri in place, and that wasn't the case. He went to Juventus. They thought they had a chance of getting Pochettino out of Paris Saint-Germain. That has turned out to be very difficult. The Conte question, I must confess, I'm not fully... I don't fully understand why that hasn't become a more plausible option for them, and then Ancelotti becomes a kind of a left field choice, but a man that they know very well, a man that will accept some of the difficulties that go with coaching Real Madrid, who's been there before, who's been I think unhappy about it before, but has accepted it as well. You know, it's just something you put up with to be able to coach at a club like Real Madrid, and in a way this is a kind of a comfort choice. Now, of course, the question mark is, for how long? How long does this remain a comfort choice, which everyone is happy with? But for the time being, at least, this kind of puts out the fires, and I think that's the main way to interpret this.
Sid, just a reminder, because I think Florentino Perez was asked why Ancelotti was sacked in the first place. He said that he didn't remember. Just remind us what it was in the end that saw Ancelotti leave Madrid.
Well, essentially what had been happening over that final season with Ancelotti, and bear in mind it was only a year after they won the European Cup, was that internally there was a suggestion that he was too weak on the players, that the team didn't train hard enough, that they weren't disciplined enough, and that they therefore allowed, if you like, the attempt to win the league to kind of drift away from them, that this was a team that motivated for the Champions League but not enough in domestic competition. And of course those kind of criticisms made of Ancelotti, very much as we were talking about with Zidane, got back to Ancelotti, and he knew that these were things that the club was saying. But essentially, I think everybody knew that at the end of a season in which they didn't win anything, he was likely to go. When he went, in the press conference that he went, Florentino Perez went through a number of kind of arguments and talked a little bit about what he wanted to do next and so on. And at one point, one of the journalists stood up and said, so why is Carlo Ancelotti being sacked? To which Florentino Perez said, I don't know.
Brilliant. That's good. Greg, this just feels like a safe hire, doesn't it?
Well, to go back to the Conte point that Sid brought up, obviously he's had success, Juventus, Chelsea, Inter Milan. I think for the reasons you just said there, and Sid pointed it out, it's kind of safe, it's comfortable, unlikely to, put up a big, fuss about stuff, whereas Antonio Conte comes in, even in his success at Inter Milan, he was kicking and screaming about transfers and what he didn't get and what he wanted and what he needed. But look, I always thought, I never thought Ancelotti at Everton was a really good fit. Right. And you could say, well, it's a building process at Everton and they're going to go on to this new stadium when it all gets, I think it's all been ratified by the governance, but that's a long period. And when you look at it this year, some of their football, let's be honest, some of their football was hard to watch, and they finished 10th in the Premier League. So you can understand why he's jumped ship straight away and said, this is a dream for me. Of course it's a dream, because at this moment in time, the club he's at are not really going anywhere. They're not going to compete in England, they're not really going to compete in Europe. And here he has an opportunity, albeit it's not an easy job, and albeit they have their problems, but he has got more to work with there. Yeah. And just the lure of going back with that offer, I can imagine as soon as he heard that was like, right, I'm off.
Frank, I imagine if you're a player in that locker room, you're happy with this appointment.
Definitely. I mean, Ancelotti is maybe still the best coach in the world. And his resume that you just showed said it all. I mean, it's fantastic. We all know that he loves the players. He loves talking to the players. He knows exactly what to do with them. So everybody will be happy. But Real Madrid has to be saved. I mean, Zidane delayed a little bit the change of cycle, I would say, with old players, maybe two young players on the other side. What he's going to do, I don't know if Ancelotti will find the solution, but he has the experience to find a way to keep Real Madrid in a very good position in La Liga and maybe have a good run in Champions League as well.
Fans happy, Sid?
Well, I think it's a bit early to be able to judge that, but the initial reaction is that they're reasonably happy. But to be honest, I think the initial reaction is partly a little bit baffled, that there's a bit of a sense of, well, we liked Carlo Ancelotti. Of course, they won the European Cup with him, but that it came to a relatively natural end. You know, it wasn't a particularly traumatic one, but it came to a natural end, and an end where I think everybody felt that it wasn't necessarily a terrible thing for him to go. And him coming back now does feel a little bit like, well, is he still the man for this squad? And bear in mind as well that the circumstances have changed enormously. You know, we're talking about a very different generation of Real Madrid players. We're talking about a different financial situation at Real Madrid, and we're talking about the beginning of needing to build something. So Ancelotti as a safe pair of hands with a very talented squad is one thing. Ancelotti in charge of a squad that perhaps needs reconstructing, that needs to be kind of looked at in terms of bringing young players through. Now, there's no doubt he has the personality to do that in terms of making those players happy, making them comfortable and helping them to perform. But that idea of building something is one that I think does mean that some fans have one or two doubts.
That then, Craig, of course, leaves a vacant spot at Everton. And it's interesting, there's been quite a mix of managers that have gone through at Goodison over the past few years. I think, have we got the odds here as who will be the next coach overall for the Blues? Is it coming? There it is.
Well, Nuno Espirito Santo come off his worst season as the Wolves manager. They had a problematic season. I don't see Antonio Conte going there. I think he's got ambitions way higher than that. Again, I think you could, in my opinion, I've talked about it before, he might go left field with a Graham Potter from Brighton, who I've said before on the show, I think his Brighton team played some really good football. It's hard to gauge which way, though. I don't think they'll go back. From what I heard from a couple of the English journalists today that follow that part of the country up in the northwest, while we've got David Moyes in the running, I don't think Everton see David Moyes, even after he did a brilliant job at West Ham, I don't think they see themselves revisiting that appointment again.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.